what's up guys, Benny here and welcome to the top 10 loadouts in Call of Duty Warzone for Season 1.5. There has been a whole load of changes to Warzone recently. The DMR finally got the nerf that we were all asking for. The gallantry blueprint for the MAC-10 has been fixed, but the most important thing is a whole load of weapons are now viable to use in Warzone. So I'm going to give you 10 loadouts that you're going to want to go and try out because some of them I think are now going to be the meta loadouts you definitely want to be using. I'm going to kick off with what I think is my personal favorite. We're using the CR56 AMAX. Now, personally, I've got a whole load of blueprints I like using, so I go for the confession one because it's pretty damn cool. And I'm going to deselect everything, right? Because we're going to build this up from scratch so you guys know exactly what you want on this. The AMAX right now is probably the best assault rifle in the game. It's one of the hardest hitting, fastest times to kill out of all the assault rifles when you put it up against like the Kilo and the M13, popular assault rifles from the past, and it destroys pretty much every Cold War assault rifle. But on the muzzle, monolithic suppressor, you can go ahead and change all this stuff if you want to. The barrel, I use the Zodiac barrel. The underbarrel, you have a decision to make. Now, you have to be honest with yourself here. If you've got really good accuracy and you're able to land your shots and you can control recoil at medium to long range, go ahead and use the Commando foregrip. That's going to maximize your aim down sight time when you're using this weapon, as well as give you that recoil stabilization and aiming stability. However, if you're not the most confident with your aim, go ahead and use the Ranger foregrip. That's going to give you more recoil control and aiming stability so you can land more shots in a row at those medium to long range gunfights, which is really important. Personally, I use the Commando foregrip now. Ranger foregrip if you're not so confident with your accuracy. Then the ammo, you want to use the 45 round mag, and then the optic, I go ahead and use the VLK with the T-pose reticle. That's my personal preference. You can go ahead and use a Corp Combat Holo with a blue dot if that's what you prefer, but that is the build that I would recommend. Then we're going to go ahead and use the MAC-10. Now the MAC-10, thankfully, the gallantry blueprint has been fixed, but it is still an absolute beast. You want that agency suppressor before using the 6.5 rifled barrel. That's going to give you an effective damage range. Sadly, the 5.9 task force doesn't do what it says it does, so the rifled barrel is the best one to have right now. Then you want to go ahead on the underbarrel and use a field agent grip. It's going to help you with the recoil, ammo, 53 round fast mag. And I did this in my video the other day, but the SAS combat stock is incredible. It pretty much gives you Stalker Pro from like Modern Warfare 3 and like Call of Duty Ghosts and whatnot, where you can just aim down sight and walk around a corner really quickly. It's going to allow you to engage gunfights in different ways and really give you an upper hand in a lot of situations. So trust me, try this out. Then the perks for this loadout, I use EOD, Overkill, Amped, C4, and a heartbeat sensor. But as we go on to my second loadout, I want to say a big thank you to one of my partners, Command, which is my energy drink of choice. It's got no sugar, low calories, and also is packed with vitamins. So it's going to give you loads of energy if you're trying to perform at your highest peak when you're playing Warzone. Definitely go check it out. There is a link down in the description below. And if you use code BennyPerp or BennyBlue, you get 10% off as well as 6 free cans. Personally, whenever I'm doing tournaments or anything like this, I have one of these. So yeah, definitely go check them out. But the second loadout that we're going to be checking out is actually, I think, one of my favorites. It's so much fun to use because the Fafar, now the DMR has like been nerfed a bit, still viable, but the Fafar is incredible. It's so much fun to use as well. You want that agency suppressor on here. The barrel that you're going to want to have is you want that 21.2 Ranger barrel, which is going to give you that increased bullet velocity. So you're able to track your targets a little bit better and your shots are going to land where you're aiming, which is really important. Then on the underbarrel, you've got that field agent grip. For the ammo, you go for the Salvo 50 round fast mag because you will go through these ammo clips so quickly because it fires at 900 rounds per minute. One of the fastest firing assault rifles in the game, and also hits hard, so you drop people quickly. Like if you've tried the floor loot variant of this when you're playing Warzone, it kills people very fast. Then also, what you then want to do is I go ahead and use the SAS combat stock on there as well. Like you've got loads of different options, but like the rear grips don't really do anything. And I quite like the iron sight. And that SAS combat stock is, once again, like I said, with the Mac, it's going to allow you to go around corners that little bit quicker so you can land your shots. So definitely give that a go. I really enjoy it. But that's my Fafar. And then on the secondary weapon, I pair it with a Kar98K, I think is one of the funnest snipers to use aggressively. Monolithic suppressor, Singard custom 27.6 barrel, the tac laser, the sniper scope optic, and then also the F-Tac Sport Comb stock. And then also one of the big things whenever you're using scopes, make sure you're using a reticle that you like. I personally use the cross thread. I really like it, and it's what I'm used to using when I'm using the Kar98. Just take that extra little bit of time to perfect and optimize your loadouts. It'll really be worth it in the long run. Then we've got EOD overkill amp, C4 and a heartbeat sensor. It's pretty much standard across all my loadouts. So yeah, just make sure you use that. Now, the third loadout is the Kilo. This is the classic, all right? We've got the monolithic suppressor, 19.8 Prowler barrel, Commando foregrip, 60 round mag, and then also on the optic, we're using that VLK 3 times with the T-pose reticle. Personally, you should all know this. This is what been the standout assault rifles in Warzone pretty much since day one, really. It just got overlooked for a long time. Really easy to use, so definitely have that. But what I have been using with it here is the MP5 from Cold War, which has been overlooked by a lot of people. Agency suppressor on there. It's the monolithic suppressor of Cold War weapons. Then I go ahead and use the 9.1 rifled barrel. Pretty much this is going to be very similar to the Mac 10 loadout that we have. Field agent grip, the ammo mag, salvo 50 round fast mag, and then I go for the stock and use that SAS combat stock. So you can just go around exact same way that you would with the Modern Warfare one, and this thing shreds. The recoil is pretty much just straight up vertical, so it's really easy to control, and it has one of the fastest times to kill. I think people have just not been using it because the Mac 10 has been so dominant until its recent nerfs, and especially now that the Gallantry blueprint has been fixed, this is now a viable option to try out. And it's also like the classic loadout, just a Black Ops Cold War MP5 rather than the Modern Warfare one. Then if we move on to my next class, we've got an all Modern Warfare loadout. The M13, incredible, very high fire rate, really easy to use, don't overlook it. Monolithic suppressor, Tempest marksman barrel, the Commando foregrip on here once again, then the 60 round mag, and then I go ahead and use that VLK 3 times if you want to have a bit more of a distance. However, the Corp Combat Hollow is also really, really nice with that blue dot sight. Like it's worth having. Really clean. I just have a lot of fun using the M13. If it was what I always used to go to when I got bored of using the Kilo, because it's really easy to use. And by the way, if you ever have any questions about any loadouts, any classes, anything, please feel free to tweet me at Benny Central on Twitter, or just drop a comment in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Then I use the MP5 Modern Warfare one, which is going to have the monolithic integral suppressor in there before having the Merc foregrip, 45 round mag, and then we're going to have that stippled grip tape on there as well before sticking the F-Tac collapsible stock to wrap up the class, which is just one of my favorite setups. However, you can get rid of that stippled grip tape if you want to have the 5MW laser if you want a bit more of a hip fire build. But personally, I prefer having that little stippled grip tape on there for the fastest aim down sight time possible. And that's the next class. Same perks, C4 and a heartbeat sensor on there as well. Now, if we move on to our next class, we've got the Groza, an assault rifle that people have overlooked. I feel like it goes with the Groza and then also the Fafar. They both operate in a very similar way, which is why I have that Kar98K with it once again, because with the Groza and the Fafar, they're not great at long range. So you need a weapon that is going to be able to take down opponents at a distance. So I will use the Kar98 there, and then I'll be able to switch to my either Fafar, or in this case, the Groza, to take people down at short to medium range. And this thing hits hard. Also, one of the funnest things with it is when you're aiming down sights, you still move really, really quickly. It feels like an SMG sometimes. Gives you a little bit of a different play style as well, which is really, really good. Now, on the muzzle, you got that Groza suppressor on there, which is going to give you that increased damage. Same thing the monolithic suppressor does. Then I go for the 16.5 CMV mil-spec barrel, which is damage, effective damage range, and bullet velocity. You can also go for the GRU composite if you want to, for that extra bullet velocity, if you just prefer that. I've personally been using the CMV mil-spec. I need to do some more testing with the composite barrel, but this is what I've been using. Then on the underbarrel, it's the Spetsnaz speed grip. ammo, 60 round fast mag. And now I don't use an optic on this once again. I rely on using the iron sight because I want to use that SAS combat stock. So I have the fastest shooting move speed and aim walking movement speed as I possibly can, which just allows me to play really aggressively and quite difficult to beat in a close range combat at those kind of like short to medium ranges against other assault rifles and bits like that. And then once again, remember, you got that Kar 98 for those long range fights. Now, number 6 is a weapon that has been overlooked in the tactical rifles for Black Ops Cold War because of the DMR and the Type 63. But the AUG is actually a brilliant weapon in this game. You just got to build it to counter the recoil. So we've got that agency silencer on there straight away. We've then got the 17-inch titanium barrel because once again, you want to have the maximum fire rate because if you're firing as quickly as possible, your spread on these burst weapons is going to be a little bit tighter because you're getting those shots off quickly. Then on the underbarrel, you have the Field Agent foregrip before having the 45 round drum mag on there. And then what I have been doing is you need to have an optic on this because the iron sight is not very nice. So personally, I've been using the Vision Tech 2 times and then using the customization thing here to use Clean Living as my reticle. And I really like this build. Like the recoil burst that you're going to find with this, it's really tight, really easy to use, and also a lot of fun. And then I've been using that Mac 10 with there as well. So we've got that agency suppressor on there with the barrels going to be that 6.5 rifled. Then we've got the Field Agent grip. We've got the 53 round fast mag and then that SAS combat stock. That is the best Mac 10 build in the game right now, just because your additional movement speed that you gain from that combat stock. And there's still not that much recoil. It's not as dominant as it was, but still really easy to use. Now, if we move to my next class, we have the Stoner 63. This is my new LMG class because I really like LMGs. I loved it when the meta had the Bruin. It was a lot of fun to use. But the Stoner, I feel, is a little bit like that. On the muzzle, you want that agency suppressor on there. The barrel, we go ahead and use the 21.8 task force because the other ones just don't really do, you don't have like a bullet velocity barrel other than the task force. So that is what I always go for with weapons in Warzone. I want my bullet to travel as quickly as possible to hit my target because then I'm going to be a lot more accurate and it just reduces that time. And that seems to be, from what I've tried out and tested, makes weapons perform the best in the game. Under barrel, we've got that Field Agent grip. You don't actually need to have a mag with my Stoner because I personally don't think, because you've got a 75 round mag, it does take a little bit of time to reload, but it's enough to take out multiple people. And then you can, if people are pushing you close, you're normally switching to your secondary. So what I then do is I've got an optic on here and you have a multiple choice. This goes back to like the standard assault rifles. I've personally been using that Vision Tech 2 times. I quite like snapping into that distance and just like beaming people that way. And then also I go for the stock and the SAS combat stock. Just allows me to get mobility whilst using a LMG, which is really helpful. And then this personally for me is my best Stoner build in the game right now. Then I've got that Street Sweeper shotgun, brand new last week. It's actually really good. There are some negatives to it, but it does perform really well. You can just hold the trigger down. It fires at like 360 rounds per minute, so you can take people down very quickly. I have that agency choke on there. I then use the task force barrel on there before using the 18 round mag. I then also on this have the 5MW laser, which is the tightest hip fire spread that you can have. And then on the stock, I go for that wire stock for the fastest sprint to fire time, because most of the time I'm firing this from the hip and like just run into a room and pretty much so I don't get caught off sprint. And for me, that is the best shotgun. EOD, overkill, amped, C4 and a stun grenade. And remember, if you don't like using the heartbeat sensor, do go ahead and use stun grenades because they are ridiculously good in a lot of situations. And most of the time at endgame, I'll normally try and swap out my heartbeat sensor for stun grenades because most people have ghost at that stage of a match and stuns are going to help you out a lot more. My next one is a utility class. It's got my Fafar that we saw earlier on in the video, the agency barrel, the range. We've got the agency suppressor, the Ranger barrel, Field Agent grip, 50 round fast mag, and then we've got that SAS combat stock on there. This is a really all-round solid build for a Fafar, one of the best assault rifles in the game right now. But I use a riot shield. Now, the reason I use a riot shield is because I was trying to figure out a way of how can I move around the map without being killed by DMRs, and a riot shield was actually one of the best ways to do that. But Endgame, if you are in a really tricky situation, you'll have a lot of squads up and you need to kind of get a power position, a riot shield is going to allow you to do that. I feel like people really underutilize and like undervalue how good riot shields are in Warzone. They will help you a lot. And if you've got a versatile weapon that is very good at medium and short range, like the Fafar, you can use this riot shield to really help you gain positional advantage all the time. And I use that EOD, Overkill, Amped, C4 and Heartbeat sensor because remember, the riot shield is seen as a primary weapon. Then we do have the meta class that we're all used to. The DMR, even though it has been nerfed into oblivion, is still a very, very good weapon. It is very good at medium range. Because of the extra recoil that you get now, you are going to struggle at those long distances where before you could just keep tapping and like take someone down. Now you really have to use it at medium range or just slow fire at a distance, but still a very, very good weapon. I didn't want to ignore it in this video because it is still a very, very good, potentially meta combo that I don't want you to overlook. And I don't want you to go like, it's been nerfed into oblivion now, I'm not going to use it. That is not the case. Still have it in one of your loadouts. You never know, you might find a situation where it's really going to help you out. And then that Mac 10 is the exact same that we've seen a few times throughout the video. And then my final loadout, which you should all have, every single one of you should have this loadout in your back pocket. It's using your main assault rifle or SMG, depending on what you always want to have. I personally recommend having an assault rifle. And in this case, it's the AMAX, which I'm using a lot right now. And I will make the class that I'm using. So in this case, Monolithic Suppressor, Zodiac Barrel, Commando Foregrip, VLK Scope, and the 45 round mag. And then the Black Ops Cold War RPG, which is actually ridiculous because yes, we do have two RPGs in Warzone right now. You've got the Black Ops Cold War RPG, and then you've also got the Modern Warfare RPG. And this RPG, if you actually look at the stats, right, is pretty much very similar, but just better. It's got a higher fire rate and a higher mobility, and you know, can just absolutely obliterate people hiding in buildings. Really, really good to use if you're running a Ghost class, which this is for. EOD, Ghost, Amped, C4, and a heartbeat sensor. And I'll always switch to that on my second loadout or at end game where I'm trying to just, you know, survive and just not get hunted down by a team of UAVs. But those are my top 10 loadouts for Call of Duty Warzone Season 1.5. Let me know what you think down in the comments below and which ones you're going to be using. I hope you found this useful. And I will see you next time for another Call of Duty Warzone video.